Welcome back to the Cold War Bunker Shadow Files. My name is Ben James, and today we're climbing to 70,000 feet, diving into one of the most dramatic and quite possibly the most embarrassing spy missions of the entire Cold War. This is the story of the 1960 U-2 incident, where a top-secret American spy plane was shot down deep inside Soviet territory, sparking a global scandal and wrecking a major peace summit. Let's rewind the tape a bit. It's the late 1950s, and tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union are colder than a Siberian winter. Both sides are building nuclear weapons, flexing their proverbial muscles, and of course, they're spying on each other like nosy neighbors with a set of binoculars. Now, the U.S. had a little bit of a problem. They really didn't know how many missiles the Soviet Union had. And that uncertainty, well, that's the kind of uncertainty that could get a lot of people killed. So what do? Naturally, you send in the CIA and their favorite toy at the time, the U-2 spy plane. A sleek, long-winged bird designed to fly higher than Soviet air defenses could reach. Well, at least that was the idea. Enter Francis Gary Powers, a former Air Force pilot turned CIA contractor. And on May 1st, 1960, he takes off from a base in Pakistan with a simple mission: fly across the USSR, snap a few photos of the military installations, and then land smoothly in Norway. No big deal, bada bing, bada boom. Get in, take the pictures, get out. Well, sounds good in theory. Turns out the Soviets had developed surface-to-air missiles that could reach the heights that the U-2s could fly. Whoops. Powers is shot down. He ejects, lands safely, gets captured by the Soviets. Back in Washington, the CIA and Eisenhower administration hit scramble mode. They assume that Powers did not survive being shot down, so they go into damage control. The official story? Well, what it always is. It was a weather research plane that flew off course. I mean, like it was a balloon, right? Just a meteorological mishap, folks. In the words of Frank Drebin in Police Squad, Naked Gun. Which I'm interested in seeing the reboot, by the way. But anyhow, as Frank Drebin once said, move along. Nothing to see here. The problem was with that, Khrushchev isn't buying it. We have the pilot. We have the wreckage. We have the film. And you, America, are lying, said Khrushchev. Probably. Busted. And Khrushchev relished and absolutely loved this moment. He dangled the truth for a few days, and then he dropped the hammer, both figuratively and literally. The U.S. had been caught red-handed spying on the Soviets just mere weeks before a major peace summit was set to take place in Paris between Eisenhower and Khrushchev. Instead of the doves of peace flying, it was missiles being shown off and paraded around. Needless to say, the summit collapsed. Eisenhower refused to apologize, Khrushchev walked out, and the status of the Cold War diplomacy? Well, it was frostier than ever. Let's take a moment and talk about Francis Gary Powers. He was put on trial in Moscow for espionage. The Soviets made a very public spectacle of this, and he wound up getting sentenced to 10 years, but ended up serving just under 2. Why? Well, because in 1962, he was traded on a foggy bridge in Berlin for a Soviet spy. This was the famous bridge, nicknamed the Bridge of Spies. You may have seen it in the movie with Tom Hanks. Yes, that's the bridge. Powers walks one way, the Soviet spy walks the other way, into the fog, and the Cold War continues. So what did we learn about this incident? Well, for one, you would hope, although we know better, we shouldn't lie about a spy plane crash. Especially when the other side has the plane, they have the pilot, and they have the Polaroids. Alliteration, people, the 3 Ps. The plane, the pilot, the Polaroids. But also, this marks a turning point. After the U-2 debacle, the U.S. shifted more focus towards satellite reconnaissance. Less risky, harder to shoot down, and you don't have to swap out people on foggy bridges. And let's also be honest, this whole affair just showed how fast things tended to unravel during the Cold War. A single mission could tank diplomacy, could spark accusation, and did push 2 nuclear superpowers that much closer to the edge. Now, Francis Gary Powers, what happened to him? Well, he lived a pretty complicated life after his release from the Soviet Union. He flew helicopters for news stations, he wrote a book about the incident, and he even testified before Congress to clear his name. He died in a helicopter crash in 1977, an ironic and indeed very tragic end for a man who fell out of the sky more than once. So the next time that you hear about a diplomatic summit that went off the rails, just remember, sometimes it all starts with a spy in the sky and ends with a scandal on the ground. That's it for today's episode of the Cold War Bunker Shadow Files. If you enjoyed the ride and didn't get shot down along the way, please follow, share, or leave us a review. Next week, we're heading under the sea for a story involving a submarine, a sunken nuke, and a whole lot of denial. Until then, stay sharp, stay curious, and my friends, please, stay just a little paranoid.